Each chapter or stage in the Cambridge Latin course begins with a set of cartoon illustrations, accompanied by simple Latin sentences that are designed to illustrate some basic feature of the language, something about the way the language works. The first set of illustrations is entitled Familia, and you see the word familia at the top left corner of your screen. This is obviously the source of the English word family, but as we go through our stories, you'll find that only a small number of the people you see gathered around Caecilius in this picture are actual blood relations. This is because the Latin word familia means something rather different than the English word family. On the right-hand side of your screen, you see a list of the definitions that appear beneath the word familia in the Oxford Latin Dictionary. I want you to notice that it's not till number 4 down here that we come to the idea of people related by blood, the way we think of family. The first 3 define a larger group of people who were subject to the legal authority of a single man like Caecilius, who in this context would be known as the pater familias. Right? This group certainly includes his immediate family members. Roman fathers possessed almost unlimited legal authority over their children and their wives, but it also included 2 other groups, slaves and former slaves. The word freedmen, which I've highlighted here top right, refers to someone who has been freed, who used to be a slave. The Latin word is libertus, someone who has been liberated. Now, most of the people who were sort of screened back in our illustration here would have belonged to one of these 2 categories, and those who belonged to the category freedmen would have actually shared Caecilius's name, having obtained it when they obtained their freedom. We'll talk later about why they would have adopted this name, why they would have allowed it to be applied to themselves once they obtained their freedom. We'll come to that. For now, I just want you to keep in mind, as I've already said, Caecilius himself came by the name in the same way, being the son of a man who had been a slave named Lucius Caecilius Felix. Now, if you look at the word pater familias, which describes Caecilius as a legal head of household, you can see that it's a combination of the word familia with a word that occurs in our first example sentence down at the bottom of the screen, Caecilius est pater. So let's take a closer look at this example sentence, Caecilius est pater, and at the smaller group of people that it applies to, because if Caecilius is the pater familias of this entire household, this extended group of people, he's only the pater of 2 of the people on your screen right now. And if you know what a paternity test is, you can probably guess what pater means. A paternity test, of course, determines who the father is, and pater is just the Latin word for father. So if Caecilius means this guy, and pater means father, you could probably guess that est means is. Caecilius est pater. Caecilius is father. We're going to go on and see many sentences that follow this pattern, and we'll meet his wife, we'll meet his kids. Before we do, though, I want you to ask yourself what's missing from this sentence. If you said, where's the word the, or where's the word Caecilius is a father, the father, well, you just noticed something really fundamental about the Latin language. Latin doesn't have a word that it means the. It doesn't have a definite or an indefinite article. We'll talk about what that means later, but fun fact, many languages lack an equivalent for these basic English words. All right, so Caecilius is father can mean Caecilius is the father or he's a father. Congratulations, Caecilius, as the context may require. Let's move on. Sentence 2, Metella est mater. This lady was standing next to Caecilius in the family photo, and it says here that her name is Metella and that she's the mater. Now, if you guessed that pater meant father because paternity means fatherhood in English, you could probably guess that mater means mother, because maternity ward, maternity wear, maternity means motherhood. So, Metella est mater means Metella is mother. Is she the mother of the kids that we're about to meet? Is she a mother in addition to being a wife? Those are English decisions which we will make for ourselves going forward. Latin doesn't care. Metella is mother. Metella est mater. Okay, let's meet the kids. Their names are Quintus and Lucia. And I want you to notice that the words used to describe them are really just different versions of the same word, filius and filia. You notice that the thing that's different is the ending. Quintus est filius, Lucia est filia. Now, this reflects the main difference between Quintus and Lucia. Quintus is a boy, Lucia is a girl. English can't do this. We have to use two totally unrelated words to describe Quintus as the son and Lucia as the daughter. But the Romance languages, languages that are directly descended from Latin, do what Latin does. Le fils, la fille, that's French. O filho, a filha, that's Portuguese. El hijo, la hija, that's Spanish. Just like Latin, all of these languages have different endings to distinguish masculine and feminine versions of the same word. Unlike Latin, they've all developed a word that means the, and this is also distinctive. Le fils, la fille. O filho, a filha. El hijo, la hija. In English, all we have is the. The can be masculine, the can be feminine, the can be singular, the can be plural. We just have the. This is a major difference between English and Latin, and one that will take some getting used to. Another thing that will take some getting used to in the Latin book is the idea of slavery, which was an unfortunate fact of life in the Roman world and something that would have been impossible to ignore in the household of a man like Caecilius. Two of the members of this household, major characters in our story, are enslaved people. You see one of them on the screen. His name is Clemens. The sentence below him, clemens est servus, contains the Latin word for slave, which is obviously the source of English words like servant, service, and servitude. Now, how this Latin word servus came to be replaced in English and other Western languages by the word slave involves a little history lesson. The Romans obtained their slaves through conquest in wars that they fought all over the ancient world. They maintained the slave population through a legal system that considered the children born of slaves to be slaves themselves. At the time of our stories, the largest number of new slaves coming onto the market would have been Britons, since Rome was engaged in the conquest of Britannia throughout the second half of the 1st century AD. At a much later period, a number of wars were fought in Eastern Europe against the peoples collectively known as Slavs. Think Russians. So many captive Slavs were brought into the slave markets of Rome that the word Slav became synonymous with and ultimately replaced the word servus in Western languages. Now, this same substitution did not take place in the Slavic countries themselves. Instead, the Latin word servus came to be applied to a huge class of peasants who were bound to the land in the service of a hereditary Russian aristocracy. These people were known as the serfs. These two words and the parallel systems of oppression they describe survive all the way down to the 1860s, when Abraham Lincoln frees the slaves and Tsar Alexander II of Russia frees the serfs. I like how their beard styles complement each other. Beard no mustache, mustache no beard. Like I said before, Clemens is not the only slave in the household of Caecilius. This guy's name is Grumio. He's everybody's favorite character for all the wrong reasons. He's not described as a servus in the caption, but rather he's described in terms of what he does. Grumio is a coccus. Coccus means cook. An English word you may know that is derived from Latin coccus is concoct, where con means with or together. If you concoct something, you simply cook it together without necessarily following a recipe. Now, the last member of Caecilius's familia, if you want to call him that, is Cerberus. Cerberus est canis. I don't have to tell you that canis means dog, because you know the English word canine, which strictly speaking means dog-like. You have two canine teeth on either side of your incisors. They're the pointy ones that are particularly prominent in the mouth of a dog. The canine unit of a police department is the one that has the police dogs. They spell it with the letter K and the number 9 because I suppose it makes it sound more tactical. The dog in our stories is based on an image that was found in the entryway to Caecilius's house. This dog doesn't have a name, so our editors have named it after the mythical guardian of the gates to the underworld. Now, you probably know this mythological dog is Cerberus, but let's remember that the C is always a K sound in Latin. Pictures of dogs were pretty common near the doorways of houses in Pompeii, and they put them there for the same reasons that we continue to do so. The caption here, Cave canem, means beware of the dog. Now, before I let y'all go, I want to make sure everybody understands the difference between the simple English definition of a Latin word and the various English words that may come from a particular Latin word and which we refer to as its derivatives. Let's start with the example of canis. Now, the English equivalent for the Latin word canis is dog. That's what canis means. Dog is the English definition of the Latin word canis. An English derivative of the Latin word canis would be canine, which doesn't mean dog. Canine means dog-like, having something to do with dogs. Okay? You have canine teeth in your head. They're not actual dogs. They just resemble the teeth that a dog has. The canine unit contains a dog, but it's not itself a giant dog. You take my meaning? So the point is, when you translate a Latin sentence like Cerberus est canis, I don't want you to write Cerberus is a canine. I want you to write Cerberus is a dog. The same goes for the Latin word pater. The English definition of pater is father. An English derivative of pater is paternity. But you don't want to translate the sentence Caecilius est pater as Caecilius is paternity. You want to translate Caecilius is the father. That is because paternity doesn't mean father. It comes from the Latin word paternitas, which means fatherhood. Now, we can use this same pattern to form English derivatives of other Latin words we know. We can also use it to figure out the meaning of Latin words we haven't seen before. So, pater means father, paternity means fatherhood. Mater means mother, maternity means motherhood. But although paternity and fatherhood have the same basic meaning, we use these two words in very different contexts. And this tells you a lot about how Latin words function in English. English, in case you didn't know, is a Germanic language. We get most of our basic vocabulary from German, words for everyday things and general ideas. Right? Father's an everyday word. Fatherhood is a very general concept, the idea of being a father. Right? It's what we celebrate on Father's Day. We also use a lot of Latin vocabulary, but we tend to use it for technical purposes, which is what makes it sound fancy when we do. So, although fatherhood is a very general idea, paternity is a narrow legal concept. Nobody celebrates the results of a paternity test except the lady who is now entitled to all that child support. The same could be said of the words motherhood and maternity. Motherhood's a very general idea, the idea of being a mother. Maternity has a much more limited application. Now, what I want you to do is fill in the bottom half of this chart. I know you know what a fraternity is and what a sorority is. Those are those organizations that you join in college if you have the money and you're inclined to spend it that way. Right? What I want to see is, can you tell me what the literal English or Germanic equivalent of the word fraternity would be? And what does that tell you about the Latin word frater? Same for sorority. What would the Germanic version of a sorority be? And these are going to be very simple words. And then tell me, what do you think soror means? Basically, you got to write 4 words. Leave them for me as a private comment. And that's all for now. Next time we will take a tour of Caecilius's house. Stay safe.